Hello, I'm Suzanne Yates, and I'd like to invite you to spend some time with me on reflecting on how we can transform ourselves and the world. In this era of climate change and pandemics, do you sometimes feel overwhelmed and that you lose your connection with your inner resources and strengths? I want to share how the extraordinary vessels of Chinese medicine can offer tools to help you connect with your strengths and resources, and also to transform your relationship with the outer world. But you may wonder, if they are so powerful, why haven't you heard of them before? Who knows? But maybe that is a reason in itself. It actually, traditionally, in ancient Chinese medicine, it was often more a hidden knowledge that was only shared to certain people. But now we are able to access much of that knowledge for anybody to experience and use. So I actually want to start with a connection rather than just explaining about them. I have quite a few videos and visualizations on my YouTube channel which give some exercises, movement-based practices based on yoga and qigong type movements. But today I want to share a little bit more about the theory, the ideas behind it. But in doing that, we can never lose the connection with, I feel it's important to stay rooted in the body, but also a connection with the space outside. So I'd like to start with a connection. I have created some hand gestures or mudras to connect with these powerful vessels using some of the acupuncture points in the hands. And they connect us with not only our inner resources, but our connection with the outer world. And they move in a very spiralic way. They're not linear. And so we want to connect with the infinity symbol, the figure of 8 on its side, that spiraling movement. So placing your thumbs and your index fingers together and making a figure of 8. And then you can place the other 3 pairs of fingers together. And we're going to place it in different parts of our body which support the different connections within and outside. So first connection, we have our fingers facing down and we place the middle of the index finger just over your pubic bone. And you face your fingers down. And you may want to close your eyes to start with to connect with that inner resource of your reproductive organs, which the Chinese called the palaces. The palace of the child for women and the palace of the essence for men. I'll explain what the essence is later on. But just connect within to your palaces and the potential power of creation and transformation that they offer on many levels. And then feel the connection down through your fingers to the earth on which you're sitting. I'm sitting on a floor, so I have a more direct connection to the earth. But if you're sitting on a chair, just feel the movement down through your legs and into your feet. And then placing your hands, placing this connection, well, you can keep it here and just connect back to your lower back, which some of you may know as the kidney energy, but we want to connect with the center, the Ming Men. The Chinese call it the gate of destiny. Ming Men. Men is the gate and Ming means our destiny. And for them, it really connects us with our ancestral energy. The energy of our parents, our ancestral line. We can place the same gesture onto our back if that feels comfortable, placing the centre of the figure of 8 into the lumbar spine, ideally in the middle of the curve. It's the second and third vertebrae. And you could have the fingers facing backwards into the space behind you, because that's connecting back into the past, into all that has gone before you in your life history, and also your connection with your ancestors, your parents, your grandparents, all the way back through your ancestral line. Just tune into that for a moment. And then we will bring this gesture to the other organ of the heart, placing the centre of the figure of 8 over the centre of your heart and having your fingers facing forward into the space in front of you. This is where we are going towards in our life, how we're able to express our own unique potential in this life, and the love of our heart. The Chinese call the soul aspect of the heart the Shen, the spirit. But I think it's important not to forget within that expression of our individual destiny is based on love. Love for ourselves and love for our fellow creatures inhabiting the earth with us, not only other humans, but other animals from whom we've evolved, other living beings, the trees, the plants, the soil, the sky, everything in nature, insects, birds. Connect with all of that, sending love in your heart. You may also want to close your eyes and connect inwards and feel that love in your heart for you. In order to love others and our world, we need first to love and accept ourselves. And then we can place this gesture just above our brain, connecting up with the fingers just above the crown of our head, the crown chakra. In yoga, Indian traditions, in Chinese medicine, a point on the governing vessel, one of the 8 extraordinary vessels, with the fingers facing up to heaven would be the Chinese name, but space, the universe, our connection to the infinite space of the world and the whole universe, all galaxies, all spaces. And you could close your eyes and connect within to your brain, your nervous system, and how it can help to connect you with the wider space in which you are. So within that gesture, I feel already that's very powerful, and many people feel simply making this gesture connects them with the vessels. And I have also a mantra, some words. I am connected to the fullest expression of who I am, my potential and my creative power. So what's the difference? What are these extraordinary vessels all about, and why don't we know about them? Well, in Chinese medicine, many people know about the 12 channels, the 12 meridians, I tend to call them channels, and these are very much connected with our day-to-day, our everyday connection in the world. So, especially important is our breath. And inviting you to breathe with doing those mudras and affirmations, the breath, the lungs for the Chinese, taking in this refined air from the atmosphere, bringing it down into our body through our nose, where it can meet with the essences of the food that we take in through our mouth, stomach, and then going into making blood, and we take out the nourishment from the blood and we let go of what we no longer need. And that's really what the day today circulation, or what the 12 meridians are about. There are lots of talks on that, so I'm not going to talk so much about them, but they are more linear, they're more day to day. And you might wonder, well, maybe you've pondered why, well, where is the brain within all this? Because the 12 meridian system doesn't include the brain, which we just focused on. The 12 meridian also doesn't include the reproductive organs, or at least there isn't a meridian or a channel for the brain, even though many of the 12 meridians do pass through the head and do regulate the brain, and even though many of the 12 meridians do pass through the reproductive organs and help to regulate them. But the overall regulators of these two organs, and indeed the whole 12 channel system, are these other vessels called the extraordinary vessels. And they are truly extraordinary because they are the overall regulators of our day-to-day energy. So some days you might have a cold, you might not be breathing so well, or you may not be able to take in the food that you need. And so there's this reservoir of energy within our body, a reservoir of ki, which can support us for short terms during times when we're no longer able to breathe good quality air or eat good quality food, and all the things that go with that. The quality of our breath, how we take in from the outer world, what we're taking in from the outer world, also on an emotional level, not only a physical level. And these extraordinary vessels regulate all of that. But they also, as perhaps you may have got some idea from the connections I was getting you to do at the beginning, they also regulate our ancestral energy, our jing or our essence, which is stored in our energetic kidneys, which are physically lower than our organs of the kidneys, because the organs of the kidneys are more about the 12 channels and regulating day-to-day energy, whereas the energetic kidneys, a bit lower down, are about storing our jing, our essence, and our connection back to our ancestors. And this arises at this gate is where we could say we enter into our body. There's a spark, there's fire. An image is two pools of water with a spark of fire, a cauldron between the pools. And the pools can be said to represent the male, the energy of the sperm, and the female, yin and yang, the energy of the egg, and what happens as they come together at the moment of conception. And that really determines our pathway. It sets parameters up for us as we pass through our journey of life. What I say is that we can always transform our relationship to our ancestors. We don't have to be stuck in the patterns of the past. There's always our spark, our potential to transform that. But they do set, nonetheless, certain parameters, certain cultural connections, ethnic connections, connections with a particular group of people on the earth. And they hold all the history, and we carry that within us. And often the reason why we don't have access to our resources is something perhaps from the past is preventing us from being fully present in the current moment. And it can be something from our own past in this life, in this body, but it could be something from one of our ancestors. Of course, our immediate ancestors carry the most strong memory, our parents. So it could be something that's been going on in their life, some difficulty they have, and that blocks us, and that stops us connecting with our resources. These vessels are also the strongest when we are in the womb. And this connection with the brain and the reproductive organs, which I talked about. Well, firstly, I've talked about the kidneys, the ancestral connection, the womb. That is where the egg and the sperm most commonly come together. Not always these days, but they come together and then they grow within the womb. and they support us. But we are within the womb of our mother, so the energy of our mother has a very strong influence on us. And this womb cauldron of our coming into our body. But we also, they connect, as you saw, with the heart, but with the brain. The heart I speak about a bit less because it is also in the 12 meridian system, but the brain is only within the extraordinary vessels as directly. And as we go through our life, I talked about the day-to-day energy, but there's something, isn't there, beyond that, which helps us to grow and develop and make the different physical transformations within our body as we move through life, which also do affect our emotions. So when we're in the womb, but then when we're born, we continue to grow. That's not the end of our growth, and we grow as a child, and then around the age of, well, puberty is changing these days, especially for girls, but around about maybe the age of 11, 12, changes are beginning to happen for boys a bit later, and our body starts to change. And in Western medicine, that's really the neuroendocrine changes, the link between the nervous system and the hormones, which is really regulated primarily through the brain and its relationship with the reproductive organs. Now, Chinese medicine didn't know about the neuroendocrine system, the hormonal system, in the way that we now do, but they did understand that there were cyclical changes going on within the body, approximately cycles of 7 or 8 years. 7 years for women and 8 years for men. And so boys going into puberty, it's a little bit later. But they see really these changes, this underlying, these longer, slower cycles of 7 to 8 years, not the daily cycles of 24 hours, but longer, slower cycles, which really influence how we unfold within our life. That's what these extraordinary vessels are about. Hopefully I didn't get too technical for you on that. But now I want to just explain where they are. Some of you may know them from yoga. There's a center line, the Sushumna, Ida and Pingala each side. In Chinese medicine, this is the conception vessel and the governing vessel, the center line, and they emerge on the perineum, which is a very important area, and there's a connection through the midline to the mouth, and there's also a connection through the back midline, which is a little bit different than in yoga. For Chinese medicine, the front is more the yin, and the inner part of ourselves are more inward yin, inward reflective, the inner world, and the yang, the back, the outer world, our protection. Many people do know this centre line, even if they don't know about governing and conception vessel, but the importance of the midline. There's another one that's called the girdle, which is like a girdle, which goes all around our centre, around our pelvis, and connects the present and the yin with the past and the yang. And these ones are very much in the core of the body, but there's also some vessels called the stepping vessels. I love the stepping vessels. I have a little video about that. They go in the legs, and they are about how we step day to day, and how we connect, and how we do make those day-to-day adjustments from being more inward to being more outward. And of course, as we move and step, we connect back into our hips and our pelvis. But it's about how we feel, what's going on in the space around us. How do we step on the earth? So these start to bring a connection with the outer world and our relationship with the outer world, which we could feel through our feet. We can feel how we step, how we adjust to the situation. And I like to think of them very much as the energy of the playful child, the joyful child, really feeling everything for the first time and feeling it with love and with connection. And I'm in a world, I can discover what's going on. The playful child running around and connecting with the earth, because we are part of the earth, we are part of the whole. And there's a pair of those, the yin and the yang. And there's also these I like to think of as our wings, the linking vessels. We have evolved from all the creatures of the earth, and so we have a bird-like nature within our body, and we can fly. We just need to remember that we are also connected with the space, with the birds, with the quality of the air, with the land around us, and we can fly, but also be rooted to the earth. Those are the linking vessels. I'm simplifying them a bit. I have separate videos on each one, but I just want to give you a little idea of the power of them, because of course this is more about connecting with the space around us, whereas the stepping vessels are more about connecting with the earth. And we have also one important one which I haven't talked about yet, the penetrating vessel, which is actually each side of the conception vessel, but it also has very strong connections to the heart and the breasts, and it's a lot about how we can open our heart to others and how we can come back to ourselves. And it also has branches in the legs, but they're going out from the centre down to the earth. And that for me is more about how we make our very slow, deeper connections, connecting to a place on earth, anchoring, resting, making a home, putting down roots. So the penetrating vessel runs all down the legs and is much slower than the stepping vessels, which are constantly we're adjusting. It's a slow. Imagine how a tree, and we are like a tree, we share our energies with the tree, puts down roots, or any plant, into the soil. And we are like a tree, putting down roots. We do have a longing to find a place on earth we call our home, where we can feel safe and put down roots and settle and let our heart be held. And I think those are the main things that I want to share for now, because it's a different way of looking at the body. Of course, there's lots of points that we can connect, and there's much more that I can say on these different vessels, but ponder that, and please do ask me any questions via the chat, via my website. And I'm just going to finish this, I think, with coming back into connecting with these different, what I call the core 4 organs, the reproductive organs, the heart, your brain, your kidneys, and just seeing, now we've had a little bit more of an idea of these different vessels, maybe you have a slightly different relationship with them. And I think I'm going to start with the connection of, I am connected to the fullest expression of who I am, my potential and my creative power. And when I am connected to that, I have a connection to my inner resources, and I also have a connection to the outer world around me. So join me in finally placing the mudra and connecting with your inner aspect of creativity and the reproductive organs, but also connecting with the earth through your fingers. Maybe the slow movement of the penetrating vessel going down through your legs and putting down roots to the earth. And noticing if you find it hard to put down roots, perhaps why is that? But maybe you find it easier to connect with the stepping vessel energy, opening your eyes and feeling that more quick moving energy of stepping, of walking on the earth, of finding your place on the earth through movement. And then we come back into the centre, feeling around your centre a wrapping of a girdle which protects and supports you, and at the front supports your reproductive organs and your creative energy. but at the back connects you to your ancestors and the support which we can gain from our ancestors. So now really feeling how your ancestors are able to support you somewhere in your ancestral line. Whatever your ancestors have lived through, there is a quality which can support you now in this moment. And then we're going to connect actually first with the space, to feel the whole space around you and know that you are not alone. You are part of the whole universe and you are a microcosm expressing the whole potential of the universe. As within, so without. And so we finally come back to our heart, feeling the love within for yourself in this human body, and the love that you can express from within to the earth which supports us and to your fellow beings. Thank you.